Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs. Again, my name is Jeffrey Davis. I'm the host of Radio Entrepreneurs and the chairman of Mage LLC, management consulting firm working with leadership and families and businesses in transition. And, every week, I think everybody knows, people who know me even privately know that every week I need my dose of Marc Z. And we try to share that. I don't try to be selfish with my love and admiration for Marc Z. So here you are with our Marc Z moment.
Thank you, Jeff. Great to be on the show. Great to see you, and great to share some information that would be helpful to our listeners.
Well, there's a big change going on in the industry you're very familiar with, and that affects all entrepreneurs. So why don't you tell us?
Well, one of the changes that's being talked about are new suggestions or rules that are being developed by the American Bar Association. As many people, particularly attorneys, know, they offer some uniformity to the Bar Association, to states, and to law schools. And one of the things that is being talked about are rules to bring law schools in uniformity in terms of the instruction for students when they're entering law school. And a few suggestions, one that I suggest, and one I have a little bit of pause on, are so the first one is having instructors really sit down with students before the final exam and really let them know how they're doing, evaluate their work, and give them advice or be able to hear what issues they might be having, as opposed to taking an exam. And exams, just so you know, in law school, you get one exam for the whole semester, and that determines your grade. Sometimes in second or third year, that's when you have your papers, or you have other factors that contribute to your grade. But in the first year of law school, except for tutorials where you learn how to legally write, how you learn how to get the proper syntax or the proper writing style and drafting of different documents, everything is done by the one grade system per semester. So for students that are having a difficulty having access to the professors, or having access to feedback and having that support, this provision or these suggestions and these draft of rules could be really, really helpful to them, and helping them, maybe making the difference between being successful in law school your first year, or doing well on a course, or not being successful. The other suggestion that I sort of disagree with, but I think could be really helpful with, has to do with instruction. What's happening is a lot of law schools are going with what they call adjunct professors that are not full-time professors. And the American Bar Association feels that 80% of the instructors at a law school should be full-time professors. And my feeling is, as somebody who is in the practical legal world, having adjunct professors is really, really helpful, in terms of not only a lot of these professors are able to teach very, very well. I took some courses from some adjunct professors in law school. These are professors that work during the day usually, or are retired, and then teach. And 80%, I think, is a big number, and you're going to lose some talented people if you keep your percentages like that.
It's really, who is it benefiting? And maybe that benefits the university by having an 80-20 rule. But I know, for me personally, going through school and also having been a professor, that I've always been, I have an affinity for adjunct professors, because I feel like they're closest to the marketplace and what's really going on in the world day to day. So there's a practical aspect. But again, for universities, it means more staff, harder to control. And I think, you can't lose sight of what's best for the student. And I think in terms of law school, medical school, business school, architectural school, I could keep going. It's great to have practitioners teaching.
Correct, correct. Real world experience, being able to be mentors long term, and also you have some really talented professors that just can't work full time in this position, but can give back some amazing experience to the students and be accessible still to the students.
Right.
I've never talked to an adjunct professor, somebody who's working or somebody who is not a full-time professor that does not give the advice or make the time for the students. But those are
When I have a legal problem, I don't call a professor. I call Marc Z, or I call the 3 or 4 other attorneys who I trust across various fields of the law. I wouldn't call a professor. I want to call someone who has their feet on the ground, who are dealing with these issues every day. And
right.
that's because I want the most up-to-date answer. And I think that's what students want. They don't want an old answer. So,
Right.
Marc, great advice, practical advice. I don't think law schools are listening because they have made up their mind how they want control. They're running businesses, and sometimes businesses lose sight of their beneficiaries. If someone wants to understand or talk to you, which I think is great, there's always a channel to Marc Z. How do they find you?
Well, first of all, before we close, Jeff, I just want to say it's not necessarily the law schools; it's the American Bar Association and getting the
Yes.
accreditation. But because I think a lot of the law schools do want to employ adjunct professors and do want that practical experience, so it's that balance.
Thank you for
Um,
that clarification.
but first of all, Google Marc Z, M-A-R-C and the letter Z. Go to marczlegal.com, marczlegal.com, and 617-338-1300. And not to forget our wonderful Radio Entrepreneurs website, radioentrepreneurs.com.
Thank you. And for everybody who listens to Radio Entrepreneurs, watches Radio Entrepreneurs, Marc Z will be back next week with more stories on Radio Entrepreneurs.